Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we will review the highlights of the Daf Yomi study for this week. Masechet Shabbat, pages 44 through 50. Daf Mem Daled, 44. The Mishnah tells us, Metaltalin ner chadash, avalo ner yashan, that you are allowed to move a new lamp on Shabbat, but you are not allowed to move an old lamp. It is muktzah. Why? Because the author of this Mishnah subscribes to the concept of muktzah machmat mi'us, that something could be off limits on Shabbat by dint of its physically repulsive character. That whereas an old lamp is oily and has wax residue and no one would really want to move it or touch it, a new lamp that has never been used before is clean. Thus the distinction between chadash and yashan. Rabbi Shimon, however, does not draw such a distinction. He permits moving both of those items, and consistent with his generally narrow application of the concept of muktzah, Rabbi Shimon says, Kol hanerot metaltalin, all lamps can be moved, chutz min haner hadolek b'Shabbat, except for a lamp which is actively carrying a flame on Shabbat. Memhei, 45. The Gemara asks an interesting question. Is it permissible to move a Hanukkah candelabra in the face of danger from the Chabarai? Who are these Chabarai? They were Persian Zoroastrian fire priests, who in the view of their religion said that fire could not be had anywhere other than in the places of worship for their deity. So when their holiday fell on the same time as our holiday on Hanukkah, the Jews were in danger and of threat that people would invade their homes and take away their fire. So the question was, can we remove the Hanukkah candles away from the door and window and to an interior room? The Gemara concludes, Shat hadchak, in an emergency situation, we can rely upon a lenient perspective on the laws of muktzah. In truth, had there been mortal danger, if there was sakanat nefashot, this question would never have come about. Of course you could move candles, you can do anything, almost anything, to save lives. The danger, however, was something short of mortal danger, maybe only the threat of a financial penalty or damage to one's property. This is the first, but not the last example of Hanukkah candles having to be moved away from the public view because of issues of anti-Semitism or anti-Judaism. Memvav, 46. The Mishnah tells us, Mefirina darim b'Shabbat, you are allowed to annul vows, meaning a husband can annul the vows of his wife, and a father can annul the vows of his daughter on Shabbat. And nishalim nadarim shem l'tzarach Shabbat. A person can seek release from a court or from a scholar for vows that they made, but only those vows that are germane to Shabbos observance. That if it's not related to living one's life on the Shabbat, save it for another day, save it for Sunday. Why should there be any hesitation at all? Or any limitation in seeking release from the Nadarim on Shabbat day? So one of the Rishonim explains, because seeking release from a Chacham, from a scholar, or from an ad hoc Beit Din of three commoners has the appearance of din, of judgment, of a court functioning, and courts are not supposed to function on Shabbat. Mem Zayin, 47. A very important leniency exists in the laws of muktzah. And this is called graf shel re'i, which literally means a vessel used for excrement. It's a special dispensation that allows us to live our lives comfortably on Shabbat and not have to be stuck with some foul-smelling item, some repulsive item on our property, in our home, for the duration of Shabbat. The modern-day garbage can that's overflowing with a stench can be moved along the lines of graf shel re'i. Daf Memchet, 48. Here the Mishnah tells us that we are not allowed to stuff a mattress or pillow with flocking, with stuffing, initially on Shabbat. Why? Because this is an example of makeh patish. One is finishing off the last touches on the construction of a utensil, of an item. And makeh patish is one of the 39 melachot. However, if the flocking, the stuffing of a mattress or pillow fell out, it can be replaced on Shabbat, because that is not an example of makeh patish. 49. Memtet. Here, the Gemara explains that there are 39 malachot, primary categories of labor, that we are forbidden to do on Shabbat. Why 39 as opposed to any other number? So elsewhere the Gemara will explain it's because there were 39 primary categories of labor that were done either the construction of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, or of the regular functioning of the tabernacle. But there's another hint to the number 39 in the text of the Torah that is alluded to here in the Gemara, and that is that the word malacha in its various Hebrew permutations appears 39 times in the Torah. Daf Nun 50. The Gemara tells us, Rochetz Adam guf panav yadav v'raglav b'chol yom b'shvil kono. A person should wash his face, his arms, and his legs every day for the sake of the honor of his Creator, of God. How is it that a truly mundane matter of taking a daily bath or shower is actually an example of honoring the deity, honoring God? Well, we can explain. The Torah tells us in Sefer Bereshit that we are created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of God. And so it is our responsibility to keep that image as pristine as possible, both in the allegorical sense and in the physical sense. And so when we go to the bath and shower and we do something which is needed for our basic health and hygiene, we are also doing something of religious value. In general, it is important for us to realize that all of our mundane activities should be elevated to some spiritual level, and we should see religious value in the simple things, even the seemingly secular things that we do every day along the lines of what the Talmud says regarding the bath or shower. If we can do that in our own mind's eye, then we will be living a much more spiritual life. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Tune in again next week for another Daf Yomi review.